All right, let us say hello to Bobby Nash, who is back in action this Friday, XFC 45. It's nice to have a hometown fight, Bobby Nash. How are you, man? Taking on Quinton Parks Jr. Good to see you, man. How's things going?
Good seeing you. Things are going great. Training's been great. Happy to be on your show, man. And just ready for this Friday, baby. It's Tuesday, so a couple days out.
What is the fight week vibes like? Getting ready to for another. This is your third fight with XFC. It's a company that has a great leadership for sure. They're putting a lot into this thing. They're doing things a little bit differently, and they're starting to grow a little bit more. They're getting on different platforms that people are starting to recognize a little bit more. How now that this is the hat trick, so to speak, for you with this organization, how does it feel just days away from this one?
Well, fight week's been great, but yeah, being with this promotion, I love it. It's going to be my third fight, and so far, I like how they treat the fighters. I like how they treat the fans. They're giving us a platform. We're fighting live on Fox Sports too. I'm very happy with XFC, and I'm very excited to see within the next year how much they develop, because I do see a lot. I do see them continuing to develop and being one of those top tier promotions, and I'm just really happy to be a part of it.
So you were originally supposed to fight LaRue Burley, right? And that was supposed to be the main event, I was told. Is that accurate?
Yeah. So I was supposed to be the main event against LaRue Burley. And unfortunately, about 2.5 weeks ago, he was heavy sparring, one of his last day sparring, from what I hear. And he broke his hand, which is really unfortunate. I was extremely bummed. I sold a lot of tickets. I'm fighting in Michigan, which, is where I'm from. I was really bummed out. Thought I wasn't going to fight, but Myron, who's the president of XFC, and Eduardo and Matt Frendo, the matchmakers, wanted me to stay on the card, and wanted the fight to still happen. And they were able to find a really tough fight in Quinton Parks Jr. It's not the tournament finals, unfortunately, but that fight will happen. This is just going to be a fight on my contract now, because once I win the tournament, I had a 6-fight contract, and they're just going to knock off one of the fights on the contract. And then within 4 to 6 months, or whenever LaRue Burley is healthy, we're going to continue on with the tournament. But they got a good opponent. I'm no longer the main event, but from what I know, I'll be this co-main event, and it's against Quinton Parks Jr., who's 9-3. He's like 6'3", 6'4", and he's got an 83-inch reach. So they brought in a tough dude.
When did you find out that Quinton was the guy? What I know they wanted to keep you on the card. That's one thing to get that information. Finding the opponent is the more important thing, the cherry on top of the sundae, so to speak. How long in advance? What was the notice? Did you have a week, 10 days? How long was it?
So he took the fight on 12 days notice. So I knew about 2 weeks out. So it was I was like, they were throwing names at me, and I was to the point where I was like, dude, I don't care. I'm ready. Let's go. They threw a couple of guys at me, and I said yeah to all of them. I was like, yeah, I'm ready. Quinton Parks Jr. is the one that stepped up though, dude, on 12 days notice. It was 2 weeks for me, but I found out about Quinton Parks Jr. 12 days notice, as he did too. So yeah, 12 days notice is what he had. So kudos to him, man. 12 days notice, taking a fight, co-main event against me. That's a tough fight, and I'm just happy he took the fight, and I'm glad that XFC got a credible opponent. They didn't get no slouch. They got a tough guy.
Did you know who he was before he got offered to you?
I go on Tapology a lot, and I always look at my opponents. I never really knew much about him, but I think I've been past his Tapology page before, because you always see who this guy fight, and I think I've seen him from a guy that fought a guy type thing.
So your career has been really interesting. It's one that I followed along, and it's just been sort of an interesting ride. It's you've experienced what MMA is all about: the highest of the highs, the lowest of the lows. You get into the UFC pretty quickly. You have 3 fights in 10 months for the UFC, and that's it. Yeah. And now you move on, and it seems like everything's starting to click for you right now. You get 3 straight victories, 3 straight first round finishes. You've yet to see a second round in quite some time, man. So what changed? There's a lot of times when you get to the UFC and it doesn't work out initially, a lot of people, especially fans on the outside, be like, oh, that was it. We saw the best of them.
Definitely. Yeah.
So Yeah. So what did you sort of take away from the release, and what sort of clicked since then?
Oh man, I mean, I was pro for about 2.5 years. And then I went to the UFC. So I was in a college wrestling season. I went and I started figuring out how to throw hands, but I didn't really know how to. And I got into the UFC pretty early in my career, about 2.5 years in. And when I went there, I took a fight in 2 weeks' notice in Denver, Colorado. Altitude, that kind of sucks. And I fought Li Jingliang, who's doing really well now. And had a great performance against him. Lost, unfortunately. Then they gave me Danny Roberts. That fight was overseas in what was it? It was in Scotland. Didn't do too well, lost that. And then I had a fight in China on 2 weeks' notice. So, me just being immature. It was me just being immature, man. I was 2.5 years in the career. And, looking back on that, you want to know the honest to God truth. If I were to get that contract again, hey, here's the 4-fight contract. I would have turned it down. Because guess what? That contract would have came back. It would have came back. I was way too early in my career. And you see guys sometimes that actually do turn them down. And 2-3 years, they might get another one. If I was in the UFC right now, I'd be whipping ass, And a lot of it's just gotten a lot better, man. I'm more disciplined. I was 27 in the UFC. I like to party. I like to drink a little bit. Now I have a kid. Now I have a wife. Now I'm settled down. I'm more focused. I'm more dialed in, and I'm having fun and I'm enjoying it. So, it's just, a lot of it is just, I just matured physically, mentally. I'm much better. And, I'm just enjoying and having fun. And I'm just glad XFC is giving me the platform to continue this.
So if you could do it all over again, you would say, no, let's keep this train rolling. I mean, it's hindsight is 2020. You know what I mean? You really think you would have turned it down? What? Maybe not, because when I took those 3 losses, the way I took at it, obviously I was really bummed out, and it sucked, but what a blessing it was, man. Right.
Take those 3 losses and it just humbles the hell out of you. It's just wow, I really need to focus on this. I really need to do this. And what I did is I took a 1.5 year hiatus off completely from fighting. That being said, I trained in silence. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't posting stuff. I just trained in silence. I worked on my hands. I worked on my conditioning. I worked on the things I needed to work on, because I was extremely disappointed with, I expected so much more out of myself. Then to go to the UFC and lose 3 in a row, I was not happy about it. But, like I said, it humbled me and it made me a better person today. I'm definitely a better person today because of it. And I'm definitely, without a doubt, a better fighter because of it, So I take it as a blessing. You take those bad things that happen to you and you to reverse it and turn it into a blessing. And now here I am, man, 3-fight win streak, 3 first-round knockouts against very tough opponents. And I'm, my career's going great.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said, because timing is everything in the sport. Imagine, you win those first three UFC fights and you're starting to go up the ladder a little bit. And then you get some of these tougher matchups up the top. You're 30, 31 years old and you lose 3 in a row. Then I'm not saying it's too late, but I mean, it's better to learn the lessons at 27 than 30, 31, right?
Man. No, without a doubt, man, without a doubt, and that's nothing to say that I may not go back to the UFC. If I do, cool, that's great. If I don't, that's cool too, man. Right now, I'm just enjoying the process. I'm becoming the best mixed martial artist I possibly can be. And, whether that's with XFC, whether that's with Bellator, UFC, it doesn't matter. Right now, I'm happy with XFC and this is my home. And, I plan on, I tell XFC all the time, I'm like, man, guys, listen, you have me at my absolute prime. Keep me active, keep me fighting, highlight me, market me, because, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to put on a show. I'm going to fight to my best possibilities, When you talk about what you did after parting ways with the UFC, you were training in silence, you were maturing, you were humbled, but you still wanted to do this. You still had love for the game, but you wanted to do it a different way. When did you know, all right, I'm ready to come back? I'm ready to no longer train in silence. I want the world to see, I'm not gonna say Bobby Nash 2.0. It's kind of cliche, but you know what I mean. Right. Well, what it was is, so, I took those 3 losses in the UFC. I was really bummed out and I had a chip, and then I got a chip on my shoulder. I went to the UFC at 8-1. And then after that, I'm thinking I'm the shit, blah, 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 bam, take these 3 losses in a row. And I'm like, started questioning, like, man, am I good enough? Blah, blah, blah. And then I was like, man, fuck this, dude. I know I'm good enough, and I had a chip on my shoulder, but I didn't want to let people know I was training. So I started training, and I had a son, that was young. And, I was a father, being with him, training. So I was really busy. And then finally I was like, you know what? I know I'm better. I know I'm better now. I know I'm focused. I took the time. I matured. I had, having a son, man, what a blessing that is. And how much does that mature you, mature the hell out of me. I'm actually a man. I was a damn kid, now I'm a man. And that matured me. And then I got a fight with WXC, which was a local regional promotion in Detroit. And I fought Mark Stoddard, who was 17-9 at the time, really tough on a 6-fight win streak. And I remember people were like, yeah, man, you just took 3 losses. Why are you taking a fight like this? And I was like, dude, you're only as good as your last fight. I know what I'm capable of. A lot of people thought I was going to take some like 10-8 guy, I was like, fuck that, man. Let's take this 17-9 guy in a 6-fight win streak. Let's see how I do. And I come out there and I got a 1st-round KO. And after that, I was like, okay, man, I'm back. I'm ready. I'm definitely better. And I'm going to stay focused, and I'm going to keep going on with this training and just having fun.
How old's your son now?
He's 3.5 now.
3.5. Is that the only one?
That's the only one I have right now.
Right now, or
we'll see. I've been putting in practice.
Touche. I have an 8-year-old, and practice all you want, but when you know one's good, what's good. Yeah. And that's kind of where we're at. But I mean, you sort of mentioned it, that it being a dad is just amazing. It's like one of the best things you have. It's tunnel vision, right? Like you see things, your perspective on it, everything changes. How did it change your perspective on the fight game? Because I mean, it seems like you're much more relaxed. You're much more at peace with what you're doing right now. And maybe you didn't have that back then, pre-fatherhood.
Without a doubt, man. When I was in the UFC, I put so much stress on myself. I used to say, oh man, I got to win. And I used to be stressed. Now I'm just like, dude, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to perform, I don't focus on the win. I don't focus on the loss. I just say, hey, I trained my ass off and I'm going to focus on performing. What I do is like, okay, I need to throw 10 jabs this round. I need to throw a right hand, within the first 30 seconds. I need to, if it's 4 minutes in round 1, I need to get a takedown. And I focus on the performance. And when I focus on the performance, the win will come. I don't stress out, because at the end of the day, man, I'm going to go out there and I'm always going to try to win. But win or lose, hey, man, I'm still coming home to my family and I'm still living a great life. And I'm still very lucky to be able to compete on national television and in mixed martial arts, man. So I'm just blessed. I just focus on the blessings. I focus on the performance, and I don't stress about it,
Do you consider yourself like a leader in your gym because of this mentality that you have? Because I assume that like young fighters come up to you and they're full of piss and vinegar and they're hungry, right. And they come to you and they see like the changes you've made and the way you approach the fight game. Like, do you feel like you're sort of like you're sort of the quiet captain of the squad? You're the voice of reason.
That's funny you said it. I think a lot of people do come to me, because, it's like, hey, young killer, I've been there. But that's not to say I don't have that either. Who my mentor is Daron Cruickshank. Daron Cruickshank's in the gym too. And man, I look up to him a lot, and I watch his career unfold. I see what he does. He gives me information. And it's funny because I give these 24, 25, 26-year-old kids information, and I know, like, hey, I've been there. So when Daron gives me information, like, I listen to it, man. I really analyze it and I listen to it. He's been there, man. He's fought in the UFC. He's fought in Ryzen. He's one of the most exciting 155 pounders in the world, So when he tells me and says what I think he's the team captain of the gym. But I'm definitely one of the guys, people listen to too, because I've been there too.
He's like, and I'm not saying you're old, Daron. I know you pretty well. Daron's like the grandfather. You're like the uncle, and
MMA It's crazy, man. You could be 36 and you're the grandfather, you know?
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong. I'm older than that. So if 36 is a grandfather, then I'm like the great grandfather.
Yeah. He's going to be fighting on this card, actually.
I know. He's the main event, isn't he?
He is the main event. I'm telling you what, he's going 145 for this fight. It's the first time he's ever fought at 145. And dude, he looks absolutely spectacular, dude. He's doing the weight cut wonderful too. And that was the one thing I was worried about him. I was like, Daron, if you're going to do this fight, you got to get the weight cut under control, because that's going to be, and the way he's been doing it, it's awesome. Like, that's another thing. Like, I'm learning from him, like watching him do the weight cut, watching him train. I'm learning so much from him, and it's just, I can't wait to watch him fight. I can't wait for my fight, but I'm really excited for his fight, because he's, I'm going to say it, man. I think he's the best he's ever been right now.
Is this the first time you've been on a card with him before?
First time ever on a card with him. He cornered me in my last fight, but this will be the first time I've ever shared a fight card with him. And man, how cool is that? I love, training in the gym with him side by side, seeing him bust his ass, me bust my ass, dude. It's made me, I've always had a good relationship with Daron, but during this training camp, I've definitely, our relationship grew.
Is Jared Brooks still around the Michigan scene right now? You ever see him?
Yeah, I see. Jared is, what a great guy. People don't know Jared Brooks, extremely humble, good kid. I tell people this, anyone who ever talks to me about Jared Brooks, I tell them, like, listen, Jared Brooks is one of the best in the world. I really, truly believe that. I think Jared Brooks is right now like top 5 in the world. Like, he's that good. I've wrestled with Jared Brooks. Jared Brooks is a 125 pounder, and he gives me absolute hell, dude. He's so good, He's actually like a 115er, which is even crazier. It's just nuts how good he is and the reputation he has in that area. Dude, I tell you what, man, I remember I was wrestling with Jared Brooks, and I was like, okay, I'm a lot bigger than him. I'm not going to muscle him. And I was going on, all of a sudden this damn kid's on my leg. I'm like, what? I'm like, okay. I'm kind of going easy. All of a sudden he takes me out. I'm like, oh, okay. I have to go 100% when I fight. When I wrestle Jared Brooks, 125 pounder, I have to go 100% with. He's that good, especially when it comes to his wrestling.
It's just crazy to see like what the sport is like from sometimes. Cause I remember when he got the UFC call and he was supposed to fight Ian McCall in Brooklyn, and something happens with his weight cut, loses the fight. And I remember I spoke with him at the hotel after it happened. He took it really well and was like, he was upset about it, but it was what it was. But in like a weird way, it's almost like the Ian McCall bad luck kind of like rubbed off on Jared in a way. You know what I mean?
No, you're right. Because Ian McCall's had a lot of bad luck. He's super talented, but a lot of bad luck. And, Jared Brooks too, man, he had a couple of shitty losses, like against Davis Ferrero, or the former champion.
Davis Figueiredo. I thought he won that fight. I thought he won that fight.
I thought so too. A lot of people thought he did, but they didn't give him the wave, and then he knocked himself out. That was up. Then he got cut from the UFC off a win, which is like, talk about a guy with bad luck. Then he's trying to get fights, and he's got a fight and then he pulls out, et cetera, et cetera. He's had a lot of bad luck, and I really want to see Jared take I want to see him fight 3 or 4 times in a year, because I'm telling you, he's gonna, hopefully 2022 is his year, because I'm telling you, I truly believe he's one of the best in the world.
Yeah. I mean, I hear that from a lot of people, and I've always had a soft spot for Jared Brooks. So I'd like to see him get another shot at a big organization. I know he's been kind of playing around with one and different things, but COVID and everything, it kind of sucks.
All right.
What about Quinton Parks' game gets you excited? Like, I know his length and his size is a bit of a challenge for you. The record's good. He's no slouch, like you said, but what about his style? What about his game just gets you excited in terms of from a competitive standpoint?
I like his movements. He like kind of opens us hands up, and he's exciting, man. And if you look at his last fight, he got a big knockout with his right hand. So he's coming off a second round knockout. So, I mean, that's exciting. And, you got 2 guys who are coming off knockouts. It's exciting for the fans and definitely exciting for me. I watched that fight, and I tell you what, that's going to wake me up and get me running, or wake me up and get me training. He's going out there whipping ass. So, that's definitely gets me excited, and it gets the fans excited. I'm just happy that I'm going to fight my hometown against an athlete, a tough dude. and a guy coming off a big win. So, it excites me, and I'm just glad my fans are going to get a quality fight.
What are the fans going to see? How's this thing all going to play out? How do you set the table for Uncle Daron Cruickshank and head back home and sleep in your own bed afterwards?
So, I'm going to go out there. I'm going to be aggressive. I'm in phenomenal shape, so I'm going to push the pace, and I'm going to see if I can break Quinton Parks Jr., but he will get touched up, and when he does, it's going to hurt him.
And then you're hoping, do you think maybe at the end of the year we can get that Burley fight rebooked, or?
I was talking to Myron. I was talking to XFC, and they're trying. They would like to get it close to the end of the year. I think it's going to be 2022. The only reason I say that is because they want to fight in like 4 months. So it's August. So like November, December, they want to fight, but I just don't know if he'll be ready, man. He broke his hand. It's going to take 2 months where you're not going to do anything, and then the third month you're going to be like punching hardly at all. They're saying November. I'd love if it was in November because that'd be great. But that being said, it maybe the beginning of the next year, whenever LaRue's ready. But if I get another fight by 2021, that'd be pretty badass. But I don't know.
And then like one thing I am curious about is, and you talked about the UFC run and you just sort of being the company guy and in hindsight, making some mistakes along the way, but now you come back, you've won 3 in a row. Do you feel like in a way, at least like for your weight class and where you're at in the region, do you feel like you're not getting enough credit for the work that you've put in and the things that you've done? Does that even bother you?
It's funny you say that because like I a lot of times people are like, oh, do you want to go back to the UFC? Do you want to do this? You want to do this? And I'm like, and I try to be like, hey man, I'm really happy with the promotion I'm with. I'm trying to build my brand through XFC. I said, the only way I'll ever go back to the UFC is if my ego takes me there, So I try to let my ego not play into it as much, I know the ability I'm at. And, after this, after I win this tournament, after I beat Quinton Parks Jr. and after I beat LaRue Burley, I want to sit down with XFC. I want to be like, listen, guys, I know the level I'm at. Like, bring some killers. I want to see where I'm at in this sport. I really want to test myself because I know I have the ability to compete with the best in the world. I truly believe that. And I want to, I have to prove something to myself. And I think XFC has the ability to get these top tier guys. They got a ton of guys out in Brazil and out in Mexico and South America they can pick up. So I'm happy with XFC. And I think I can get quality competition from them. And, that's why I'm hoping they develop and get bigger, because as they develop and as they get bigger, my stock rises and people will legitimize my name, because I know, it's frustrating when others don't, but they will. It's going to be hard once I just keep knocking these guys out. It's going to be hard to doubt me,
If there is some strange like MMA matchmaking genie who knocked on Myron's door and said, hey, we're going to give you the opportunity to bring in one welterweight to fight Bobby Nash. Call him on the phone. He gets to pick and we'll bring him in. He gets to fight him. Who's the guy? Who's the guy you're picking?
Probably Mike Perry.
Mike Perry. Why?
Because I just think he's an exciting fighter. He's originally from Flint, Michigan.
Yeah.
So that's cool. And he's a heavy hitter, knockout guy. He's got a big name name behind him, and he's about one loss away from getting cut. So it's actually like a possibility. He loses and maybe he gets cut. XFC could snatch him up, and I would love that fight. I think it's an exciting fight, and I'm actually a fan of him. But I think that'd be a cool fight, dude. I really do.
And do it in Michigan. You got to do it in Michigan.
That's what I'm saying, man. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Got to do it in Michigan. Bobby, you're the man. I'm glad we were able to do this. I could talk to you about MMA for another half an hour, but my kid's calling me right now, and I'm sure yours is as well. So, all right, my man. Thank you. All the best to you against Quinton Parks Jr. on Friday, man. Looking forward to watching it.
Thanks, man. Thanks you for having me on. I really enjoyed the podcast today.